It just got very real for the Toronto Maple Leafs as a brand new report has dropped revealing a huge trade update surrounding the Leafs and one player in particular. We're going to break down this exact trade report and discuss what it means going forward, as well as some other updates surrounding some other Leafs trade targets that things are really starting to not only heat up, but really start to pick up surrounding one key individual. We're going to break down exactly who that is, as well as discuss some other interesting updates on this episode, folks. Make sure you stay tuned to the end of the video. But before we get into it all, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Leafs content. So make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you guys again for continued support. You guys have been absolute beasts. Darius, ton to go over today. Some new reports have dropped, and we've been covering the Nazem Kadri situation pretty closely here for the past few days, past few weeks, and really for a while, dating back to the trade deadline with the Flames. And a new report has dropped, not only indicating some interesting information surrounding a trade, but also from Nazem Kadri's side. And Terry Koshan, an at Leafs writer, came out and said, an NHL source said on Wednesday that Kadri would not let his no-move clause stand in the way of agreeing to a trade to Toronto, which is very big news. At the same time, it was stressed to us that Kadri enjoys playing in Calgary and is not looking to be moved. So, a couple different things here. This is a very encouraging report if the Leafs are pursuing Nazem Kadri. Multiple reports have dropped from, I believe, Darren Dreger, Nick Kypreos, all these guys saying that, Frank Cervalli as well, I think, at some point, saying that the Leafs are interested in Nazem Kadri. Now, you pair that with the fact that Brad Treliving came out and said they want to get a top 6 guy. Are they going for a center? That's still up in the air. But the fact that Kadri would essentially accept a trade if it went through is very, pertinent news here. And of course, it said he's not willing to or not looking to get moved, which obviously makes some sense. But if Brad Treliving and the Flames can put together a deal here, Kadri would be on his way to Toronto.
I think it's very interesting. And I mean, we covered this in a video yesterday, but when you look at it from the Calgary Flames side of things and Nazem Kadri's side of things, I don't think he's like screaming right now, get me to Toronto or I want to be traded. I'm sure he's fine where he's at. He signed the contract. He wanted to go to Calgary. That all makes sense. But it sounds like, if the Leafs wanted to explore this and they wanted to make a trade happen, doesn't sound like there would be any holdup, right? Like Nazem Kadri sounds like he would be open to coming back to Toronto. And if, you ever read his book or any of the things that he put out there on social media when he left Toronto, he likes playing under the bright lights. He likes the pressure. It doesn't bother him. He does like playing here. And I don't think he ever wanted to leave here. That's a big thing as well. Like he never really wanted to leave here and he did everything in his power to, veto trades along the way and then ultimately was traded to the Colorado Avalanche. So it could still make a lot of sense. I said a couple months ago it didn't make sense, especially with the salary cap structure. It made absolutely no sense. But things change, and you can change your mind when presented with new information. So I think it would be interesting. I think there's better players out there, that's for sure. Would they cost more? Definitely, right? But I think when you're looking at Kadri, when you talk about a DNA change, you're not necessarily talking about just the way your team looks. It's the way your team thinks and acts and all those things. But I think if you were to add Nazem Kadri, he is a dog out there on the ice that we talk about, Brad Marchand being like that. I mean, look what he did when the Colorado Avalanche won the Cup. He was a big, crucial part of that team. So he would help in that regard. He could push somebody, like John Tavares maybe to the wing, which isn't necessarily, Tavares being demoted or anything. Still a great player. So I feel like it would fill in the rest of your lineup very nicely. He's the type of guy you can win with. We always kind of knew that, but unfortunately he kept getting suspended. But it's an interesting idea. That's for sure. And I think they're going to explore it because there are some connections. Kadri, of course, played here before. Treliving signed him to that contract in Calgary. I don't know if the Calgary Flames want to make a deal with the Toronto Maple Leafs. I feel like that would be the only holdup here because I wouldn't put it past Brad Treliving wanting to bring Nazem Kadri back to be a Leaf.
Yeah, obviously the biggest holdup is Treliving dealing with Calgary. That'll be the biggest thing. But we know there's reports that they are actively in talks with the Flames trying to get Kadri, and Terry Koshan dived into it more. Anyone of Domi, Yarncrook, Camphor, Nick Robertson could be dangled, but why would the Flames, who struggle to score goals, give up Kadri in a deal where something of solid substance is not part of their return? And that's the thing. A lot of people are talking about, deals involving these guys. It would probably require, like we covered, I believe it was yesterday's video, Robertson and a guy like Cade Weber, who has some upside and is a prospect. Kadri hasn't missed a game with Calgary, playing in all 82 in each of the past 3 seasons. I mean, he is a very solid player. You mentioned we traded him to the Avalanche. You could argue he's gotten, better in a lot of regards since his time with the Leafs. He's also gotten more mature, according to all accounts here. So I think he would thrive with this. And for the Leafs, the DNA change that Treliving wants hasn't yet happened, despite the additions of Nicolas Roy, Matthias Michelli, and Michael Pezzetta. I don't know if I fully agree with that, but that's a conversation for, another day. Key part missing here is Mitch Marner is gone, which is, a big part of the DNA issue, at least in my mind. And we also know something to note here, and reports have started to flood out. We haven't fully covered it. The Leafs were heavily in on Brad Marchand. That was the guy they wanted. Ultimately, he decided to stay in Florida. I don't think, if Florida wasn't able to pull off whatever they pulled off, we're just going to call it that, with getting all 3 back, Sam Bennett, Aaron Ekblad, and Brad Marchand, he probably would have went to the Leafs. That seems to be the reports that are happening. They're actively pursuing a lot of different players. But there's always the side of does it make sense to spend it on a 34-year-old who makes $7 million until 2029? Does it make sense? Maybe not. And people, that's kind of how I feel as well. Do I want it to happen? Yes. And I think ultimately it would make the team better for the next 2 to 3 years, which is their cup window anyway. I don't think they're worried about 2028 and 2029. And if something, maybe 2029, mainly the last year of Kadri's deal, they'll figure it out, put him on. He'll probably still be a decent enough player. Won't put him on Robidas Island. They'll probably keep him around. But I want him simply because of the fact that he embodies Toronto. He's been here before, and he would make this team significantly better, even at the age of 34, which, to be honest, after what we're seeing from a lot of these guys, Corey Perry, John Tavares, isn't even that old.
No, it isn't that old. I mean, Corey Perry, look what he's doing at like 40 years old, right? And a lot of the guys that were on the market, like Brad Marchand, he's nearing 40 years old, right? Like, look what they're doing. They're playing a lot of hockey. You got to keep that in mind. But, I wouldn't put it past Kadri to still have a lot of really good hockey left in the tank. So it's pretty interesting. I also thought it was interesting that around the time that trade happened was when the Leafs really went on a bit of a downfall where things really turned in terms of it was the team's fault and the core four's fault, around that time. Because before then, it was like, okay, you're an inexperienced team that lost to Boston. Again, it's unfortunate, but, you'll come back stronger. These guys are going to keep learning. Then you lose the next year. A lot of people pointed fingers at Babcock and his usage of certain players, and I can agree with that. And then Kadri was traded, and then things went downhill. And I feel like it was because they traded a lot of the guys like him off of the team that you can win with and that play with that mentality, that push forward mentality, push through it to the finish line. So I think it would be, you want to talk about a DNA change. This would certainly push it in that direction. That's for sure. But I do agree with you too that, letting Mitch Marner go is also a DNA change in and of itself. It's not just who you're bringing in or the personnel on the team. It's just a mindset. But I do think you need to bring in, a lot of guys who want to win here, know how to get over the finish line, things like that. So it's going to be very interesting to see what Brad Living ends up doing. I do wonder if he is trying to target a winger still. And I think, there is still a few dominoes to fall. This is going to linger for a while. I don't think they're going to make a trade next week or even the week after that, like a significant one, of course. Like they're going to make some moves still in the meantime. But, the big fish, what they're looking to do in terms of top six could linger into August as things kind of settle down.
Yeah. And I mean, who knows? You're right. And things could happen tomorrow for like, it's very possible
Right.
that there could be a huge. I'm of the mindset of if the right deal comes up for Brad Treliving, I have full faith that he's going to make sure that it happens whenever it happens. But yeah, over the next few days, next week or two, I would expect some big things to start to come out surrounding the Leafs pursuit because it's going to be interesting to see now as well as other teams start to kind of solidify their rosters. Let us know down below what your thoughts are. Like there's a lot of names being thrown out there because we know it's going to happen via trade, not free agency, which I almost think is better because you can probably get a better player at this point. Nikolai Ehlers is going to sign very, very soon, if not already signed as of the time of this video going up. So things are picking up. And we're going to keep you up to date every step of the way. Let us know down below what your thoughts are. Do you want to see Nazem Kadri in a Leafs jersey? It's going to be interesting. See you guys later.